The Thursday, July 25th, 2019 meeting of the City of Sugar Land Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 2, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission with regard to any of the other items on the agenda other than the public hearing? Seeing none, we will move on to item 3, the minutes. 3A, consideration of an action on the minutes of the July 9th, 2019 meeting. Does anyone have any corrections or changes?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Landine, seconded by Commissioner Stevens. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Good job, Carl. We will move on to item 4, the public hearing. 4A, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on the proposed rezoning of approximately 21 acres from interim neighborhood business B1I or interim general business B2I to neighborhood business B1 or business office BO for commercially developed areas of the Greatwood community located along 1 Highway US 59 and east of Greatwood Parkway, 2 along the west side of Greatwood Parkway, and 3 at the southeast corner of Greatwood Parkway and Riverbrook Drive. Myra.
Good evening. Before you is the public hearing for the permanent zoning of particularly 3 main non-residential areas in Greatwood. So it is approximately 21 acres. These were limited annexed in 2008 and fully annexed in 2017. And the current interim zoning is B1 interim for Area 1 and B2 interim for Area 1 and B1 interim for Area 2 and 3. And we'll definitely go into detail in each area. So the aerial photograph roughly shows the 3 main areas. Again, this is US Highway 59, this is Greatwood Parkway, and Riverbrook Drive is here. So the future land use plan map definitely played an important role in our analysis and our recommendation for the zoning districts that we are proposing before you tonight. The proposed permanent zoning will not change any of the commercial development. It will not impact any deed restrictions. The B1 interim and the B2 interim are basically only meant to be temporary, and it's now time to place permanent zoning on these areas. So this basically formalizes the property owner's development rights. The zoning categories that we are proposing are to closely match up what's developed on those sites, and our recommendation is based on the analysis that we conducted at the field, and also the land use plan, the future land use map, and we also took in consideration the current interim commercial zonings that are placed on these properties now. So a little bit about the B1 zoning district. This is your neighborhood business that are mostly neighborhood services, small scale, limited impact to the neighborhoods, no outside display. Some of the uses do have a maximum square footage, such as daycares. In the B1, if a daycare is 15,000 square feet or more, then it will require a conditional use permit. So there are 2 daycares on site. At this time, they don't have to do anything. In the future, if they decide to expand or rebuild, and it's greater, 15 or greater in square footage, then 15,000 or greater, then it will have to go through that conditional use permit. So then the business office is more limited in land uses and services, and it typically allows your law firms, your engineering firms, corporate office, neighborhood office, those type of uses. There's 2 properties that we are proposing BO within Area 1, and one of the properties has a bank. Bank is allowed by right, but the drive-through component of it will require a CUP in the future if they decide to expand or rebuild. The commission is aware of the residential proximity CUP process. This is an additional process that is triggered when a new land use is supposed to be located adjacent to a rear property line of a commercial or of a residential lot. So it is required in the B1, B2, BO, and N1 zoning districts in this type of case if it does back up to residential lots. In this case, I believe there's only one property that will, or one or two properties that will trigger this in the future. So let's talk about Area 1. Again, Area 1 is off of US Highway 59. This is currently B2 interim. We went ahead and decided on BO for the two outer parcels and B1 for the middle parcel, given that the two outer parcels are basically business, office, land uses. This one right here is the 3-story building you're seeing here. This corner over here is this 2-story office building. The B1 site that we are proposing for is a 2-story retail center that has restaurants, a little fitness center, dentist, those type of land uses. Area 2 is off of Greatwood Parkway in US Highway 59. So here is basically a recent development, office condos. They're still under development. There's quite a few office condos in that area. And then we also have a retail center. So if we go back, that's located here in the HAR office. It's located back here. So this is the HAR office, and then retail center that has restaurants, cleaners, nail shop, and then also the daycare center that's back here tucked in the corner, which is shown here. And then Area 3 is off of Greatwood Parkway in Riverbrook Drive. 3 properties. The one over here is this picture shown here, and it's Greatwood Informational Center. Then we also have the daycare site that's at the corner, which is shown here, and then we also have a office building that includes different types of offices in there, also like a little fitness center and therapist office. So some initial points for consideration tonight. Greatwood, the Greatwood non-residential areas, again, were limited annexed in 2008 and fully annexed in December of 2017. So now the permanent zoning is required. We are now on phase 4 of these of this whole permanent zoning process through Greatwood Indian Territory. The proposed B1 and BO zoning districts are to closely match the existing land uses on site. And the proposed zoning districts are, again, based on our analysis of the existing interim commercial zoning districts, the land use plan, the future land use map, and the in our field investigation. And this proposal is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. So all the requirements of the public hearing have been met. We did notify every property, commercial property owner, all owners within 200 feet of the commercial properties. We notified the HOA as well as the POA. And as the new process that we have now, we have a online form where inquiries can be submitted or comments before the public hearing. We received one inquiry via email. It was actually not submitted using the online form, but we do have that email printed here with us if the commission wishes to see that inquiry. The property owner of one of the daycare centers contacted us. They are out of state. They mentioned that they were not going to be able to join us tonight, but they did have questions on what this permanent zoning meant for their property and if there were going to be any impacts on their property based on the proposed zoning. So again, I do have a hard copy of the email if the commission does wish to take a look at. So the next steps and recommendation is to hold the public hearing, followed by discussion and direction. And depending on the commission's feedback, we anticipate consideration and action to take place at the next meeting in August. I'll be happy to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this issue. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll move on to review of and discussion on the proposed rezoning of approximately 21 acres from interim neighborhood business B1I or interim general business B2I to neighborhood business B1 or business office BO for commercially developed areas of the Greatwood community located 1 along US Highway 59 and east of Greatwood Parkway, 2 along the west side of Greatwood Parkway, and 3 at the southeast corner of Greatwood Parkway and Riverbrook Drive. Does anyone have any questions for Myra? Go ahead, Taylor.
All right. I'm sure you covered it, but why are you splitting out that first parcel that we went over right on the frontage road? Why is it two separate designations?
Okay, so this, so again, there's a building here and a building here, and they're mainly office land uses. So we believe that the BO is the perfect zoning district for that. Now, the middle parcel here is, again, this 2-story building, and the land uses are more like retail, restaurants, not really a whole lot of office. So we believe the B1 it's more appropriate for the land uses that are there versus the BO.
It doesn't prevent office from going into the B1, or does it?
No.
In fact, didn't you say there was a dental office there?
Yeah, well,
existing
that's more medical, but yes,
Right.
neighborhood office is also allowed in the B1.
If I may interject you, the difference is that all of those, the one that they want to do, the B1, the difference between is there's only one entrance to these other two. They're really an office building. These others you can enter each one from the exterior.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a distinct difference between the two office buildings and that building, in my opinion, so.
Thank you, Myra.
You're welcome.
And it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've tried to match up what's existing now with what our zoning designation would be.
Correct, so we are trying to match it up so that there's no nonconformities in the area.
So that's the other reason. I mean, if they made it all BO, those would be non-conforming uses.
Certainly.
So, any other questions?
Just clarification, in the link online, it shows parking setbacks and other rule changes, or other changes. Where was that? That was, just had it. There it is. Parking lot setback requirements that I see here. Do those change for what they currently have?
So the properties don't have to do anything as of now. They can keep operating as they are. So the parking setbacks will trigger if they want to redevelop that site. Then they'll have to comply with those setbacks for that district.
Okay. And will Shipley's have to do a separate item for their drive-through?
They have a drive-through, that's correct. I don't have the land use matrix with me. I can definitely follow up after to let you know if they'll have to do a CUP for the drive-through.
Okay.
Definitely at the next meeting, I can come back with that information.
Perfect. Since there's no action on it, that's great. Does anyone else have any other questions they'd like Myra to look into? Go ahead, Jay.
Could you tell us the email you received from an owner, where they're located, and paraphrase their concerns?
Yes, I can definitely pass around the copies as
Would you
well.
like to get a copy? Have a
No,
copy
not
sent?
necessarily. I was
Okay.
just kind of curious what their concerns were.
Well, maybe if you could, just send it to everyone on the commission before the next meeting so they have a chance to look at it.
Well, I think what Jay said, they're one of the owners or something of one of the existing ones, right? Oops.
Right, so in area,
Where are
Living
they?
out of state.
Where are they located? Who is it? and Where are they
so
located?
it's Area 3, and it's the daycare that's located off of Riverbrook Drive in Greatwood Parkway. They said they're located in California, I believe. Yes, San Diego, California.
Okay, so they were just asking questions, they didn't have a specific issue or concern.
Right, so just basically wanting to understand what this means for their property, if there were going to be any impacts based on the zoning district that we are proposing.
Okay, thank you.
And it seems like she's content with your response.
She
If you have
followed up with a
further
thank you.
questions, yeah. Any other questions? Carl?
Now, I'm, on the staff report here, I'm confused. If you go to, whatever you call it, number 1, where you talk about the surrounding property zoning, and here where we're, number 1, the 3 by the lake, you got the north standard single family, which is across the freeway, obviously. South, east, and west, you got interim standard single family residential. And then, if you go to number 2, which is the river, the other side of the Great Wood deal, if I'm reading this right, then you tell me that south, let's see, no, I'm sorry, go to the number 3, then you say the surrounding properties on it, north, business BO, and then south, the interim plan, and east and west, interim plan. I think there's some, in my opinion, one time you say it's single family, and the other time you say it's BO. I'm confused.
Yes, I can see how that's confusing. So, this area right here was permanently zoned BO last year.
What's on it?
It's a assisted
Is that
living?
that assisted living?
Yes.
So then how do you get to the interim single family, is that, I guess, my question? Interim standard single family, because that's the same,
On Area 3, the north,
no, on your description of number 1, area 1,
number 1. Okay, so if I go to number 1,
unless you're calling the lakes that, the only thing down there, over there, is that,
so in the zoning map, the right-of-way of highway, or US Highway 59 is shown as R1, which is why I mentioned that that's what's north. This is not the zoning map, but in the zoning map, it shows yellow, so this is why I'm calling it
not that
R1.
part, I call it across the freeway, I guess that's single family, I'm not sure it is.
This across the freeway is, B2 is the River Park area where the Chick-fil-A
You
and,
got this whole, as I read this, south, east, and west of this deal, you're calling standard single-family residential.
this area right here hasn't been permanently zoned, so it's still R1I.
You know
That's the
what?
zoning district that came in when it was fully annexed
Right.
into the city.
Maybe rather when we come back, rather
I
than
can definitely provide a
having it
zoning map.
R1I, tell us what's there.
Because there's a whole different, use
Right.
that's sitting on top of it right now, right? There's a assisted living facility somewhere in that area there.
Right, so when I was describing the area, I just called out the right-of-way. I didn't go up across the street, but I can definitely update my staff report and add more
Right-of-way, that-
detail.
Yeah, maybe if you could just tell us that, to the north, there's an assisted living facility or whatever, rather than what the interim zoning is, since that's likely to change.
It's- I'm looking-
Plus, R1I does kind of give you the idea that it's residential, and that's not necessarily the case, it's just the interim designation.
Well, it just,
Is that okay, if we have that to review before we come back
yeah,
to
as
vote
long
on
as
it?
maybe even if you call it R1, you could put in parentheses, assisted living facility built or something.
We'll definitely add more detail.
Because it's confusing. Like, to me, reading it this way, I think that property is vacant, maybe.
Or residential.
Right, yeah,
Right.
one or the other, but,
Right.
I know that there's a structure
That
there.
assisted facilities there, yeah.
So,
Good point, Carl. Anyone else have anything else? So, you're going to get back with Andy about the driveway and then let us know what's actually existing on these adjacent.
Yes, I will follow up with that feedback
Perfect.
at our next meeting.
Did I miss anything? Is there anything else? You're okay with this? Okay, if you would, wouldn't mind sending it to the 3 people who are missing, just so they have a chance to see what we did. Thank you for
I can
bringing the hard
definitely do that,
copy
too.
for us. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will move to item 5, reports. 5A, Planning and Zoning Commission Liaison Report to the City Council meetings in July.
I have the 16th and the 23rd.
Thank you, Taylor.
So the 16th, there was a budget, or a discussion on budget and CIP, some of which we offered guidance on, and then they adjourned to executive session to discuss some pending legal business. And then on the 23rd, there was, it was a workshop. They discussed three main topics. So there was a review of the general obligation bond election and the public education process. They're issuing $90 million worth of bonds, and the discussion was about the electoral process and the public awareness campaigns that they'll undertake in the fall. And then Meredith discussed the charter amendments that will need to be voted on at some point, and they discussed the timing and the ordering of those charter amendments. And then finally, they went over the process that they are undertaking to replace Alan Bogard, and went over timeline and process there. So that's all.
Thank you. Item B, City Staff Report.
Good evening. So your next meeting will be Tuesday, August 13th. And right now, we anticipate at least 2 items on your agenda. We'll be bringing forward the consideration and action on the zoning item you just heard. And then we are also anticipating a general land plan amendment for the Lake Point general land plan. So we'll bring that forward to you. I also sent out an email to you related to some upcoming training and educational opportunities. So please take a look at that and let us know which conference you will be able or interested in attending this year or next year. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Taylor. Do I hear a second?
second.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All in favor? Aye. We're now adjourned. Yeah. I know.